Sunny Spot, Gina Snyder.
Hi, welcome to the Sunny Spot, sponsored by Sunny Bridge Natural Foods. I'm Vicki. I'm the Sunny Bridge Supplement Manager, and I'm here to host today's show. Sunny Bridge Natural Foods and Cafe is a natural food store that carries natural, organic, and local foods, organic and local produce, local eggs, local grass-fed beef and pork, local honey. We have a large variety of special diet foods, including gluten-free, low-carb, and sugar-free products. We have a dedicated gluten-free bakery that not only bakes your favorite baked goods, but they're gluten-free. They also offer vegan options, decorated cakes, and party platters. And our cafe creates wraps, pizzas, salads, and soups, and fresh juices using organic ingredients and bread, buns, wraps, and pizza crust baked by the bakery. And, of course, a supplement department that stocks just about everything you could possibly want or need to enhance and maintain good health. Sunny Bridge is open every day, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 8, Fridays, 9 to 7, Saturday, 9 to 5, and Sunday, 10 to 5. It's located in Peters Township, just minutes from South Hills Village Mall. You can check out our website, sunnybridgenaturalfoods.com, or call us at 724-942-5800. Our guest today is Kristi Weiss. Kristi is a Gibsonia resident and mother of two children. She has her master's in chemistry from UCLA and her undergraduate degree from Penn State. It wasn't until her second child was born with health difficulties that she realized just how much that chemistry degree would come in handy. As she and her husband took their daughter from doctor to doctor's office with no real answers, Kristi put on her chemist hat and used the skills of medical literature research and the scientific process to set out and find answers, which she found was shocking to her, and she realized that other families needed this information to help with their own children and regain health. Kristi has just recently launched a new business. It is called EmpoweredAdvocacy.com, just so she can specialize and do just that, help parents out. So welcome, Kristi. Nice to have you on the show today. I know you have been on before. We had a lot of parents come in and ask how to contact you when you were here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks. So can you explain to our listeners what exactly is a patient advocate? Who would need to call for your services?
Sure. A patient advocate or a medical advocate is really a navigator, somebody that walks beside you and with you and your family through your medical journey. So as you had said in my intro, we went from doctor's office to doctor's office with our daughter and really didn't have that person to help guide us. And so honestly, in launching this new business, I'm trying to model after what I wish I had when we were doing that with our own family. Somebody that can really knows the ins and outs of the system, maybe knows has relationships with different providers, or knows just kind of what to do and can guide you. It does not take the place of a medical professional in any way or a therapist in any way. It is really a person to guide you through that medical journey.
So do you help people decide, of course, with their physician, what sort of treatments would be available for their children? Or
Right. So I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose. I can't prescribe. I can't treat. But when a family gets a new diagnosis, for instance, for their child, or we could use autism as an example, it can be devastating, right? It's not something you prepare for when you're pregnant, and preparing their nursery and reading all the books. It's not something that you prepare for, so it can be very unexpected, and it can also be very traumatic for the family to try to figure out, okay, what's next? Now what? And depending on where you are, depending on who gives that diagnosis, there might be a course of treatment or a path that's laid out for you. But there's many families that might want to explore other options. There's many families, there's so much in the world specifically as my example of autism, but there's other disorders as well where there's research being done, and perhaps that family might want to pursue, a different route, or maybe they don't even know the different route exists, and they might need somebody to help them research that and find out, maybe lay out 3 options for them so that they can make that best decision for their family. Every family is not going to choose the same route because we're all different, right? We all have different value systems, and we value different things in our families. So while one family might choose a route that addresses the child's speech because that's most important for them to identify first, the other child might be having gastrointestinal and sleep issues, and for that family, the value is addressing those things first. And so trying to help a family prioritize those needs and wants for their specific family is a big part of the job.
And I suppose some of the different steps they can take to reach their goal. Right. Sure,
yeah, and that can be limitless, right? But really, just having somebody walk beside you and help you with your family decide what the next step is, or maybe lay out the next 3 or 4 steps so you can kind of prepare and decide. It doesn't mean that you can't backtrack and take another road at any time, but trying to identify kind of maybe a path or a plan is sometimes helpful for families that don't like the unknown, right? If you don't know what's around the next corner, it's sometimes helpful to kind of get it in your own mind what's coming up.
So is this something, if let's say somebody is newly diagnosed with autism or ADHD, something like that, and let's say they want to even have their child tested for these things, and sometimes a physician will maybe suggest they wait, or are you able to give them the tools to possibly say? I know a lot of people are afraid when they go to the doctors to do anything different than what the doctor says. So,
sure. No, and like I said again, this is not to take the place of that medical professional. They are a very important part of this family's team. What the tools that I can help that family find is sometimes making sure you have the right member of the team. Right? If you're a mother and you've had repeated concerns and you feel like they're falling on deaf ears, there's definitely ways to approach that communication-wise within the practice you're within. But then there's also ways to seek second opinions and even third opinions to find other members of the team that might be helpful for your child. I think sometimes we lose perspective when we're in the midst of that diagnostic process, that we truly do know our children best, first and foremost as parents, but also that we are consumers. We are the customers in the medical arena. And just like you would if you went to a restaurant and complained about your soup and somebody didn't listen to you, you can advocate for yourself in a similar way in a medical scenario. And definitely we found ways for our daughter's health, and that's what I want to share with other parents, that finding the right fit of a physician or a therapist or members of your team is such a crucial piece to figure out, and really one of the first steps into getting your child help.
It is true, because I know I said my one son had some learning disabilities, and by myself 30-some years ago, it was pretty difficult to get any information out of anybody. Nobody, even teachers don't want to say anything if to even give you an idea where to go. Right. And
I guess it's important too, especially in some of those situations, to understand what people can and can't say and do in the limitations of their job. Right. There's some situations where say, for instance, a teacher couldn't suggest you go have a evaluation for autism because they can't suggest diagnoses. They're not able to do that. So that can make it very difficult, but also honoring that they're in a position like that for their job, it's helpful in understanding, right, why they're not saying anything or why the information is difficult. And so knowing who to go to in those in educational situations and medical situations is always helpful too.
Oh, absolutely, because I can't tell you how many very kind, wonderful people in that system that I was in said, but you didn't hear it from me.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yes. And I think that's the thing to keep in mind is that everyone wants the best for our children, and everyone is doing their best for our family. But that doesn't mean that you may have a difference of opinion, or that you might find a better personality match with another provider. It shouldn't be looked at as like you're going to hurt anyone's feelings, right? It's just a matter of building your child's team, and that's what we found for our daughter. It wasn't just one doctor, it wasn't just one therapist. We had to put together a team to support her and our family. And when we started handpicking those people based on our values and what we were focused on with our daughter and our family, that's when we had the best outcomes for her. Was whenever we started participating in the process rather than just sitting back and letting the process happen.
Yeah, just following along.
Exactly.
So imagine you really have to pay very close attention. Because I would imagine with some things you try, in the beginning you may see small improvements.
Right.
And, so in that respect, I mean, can you help people with things like that? Maybe they're getting discouraged, give the encouragement to continue on, or maybe try something.
Sure. Yeah. I think with my science background and my chemistry training, I was trained to think like a scientist, take meticulous notes and track data. And so that is some of what helps us, I believe, with our daughter's journey, is that we had to be the observers, right? We couldn't go into a doctor's office and expect them to know what had happened for the last 2 weeks, 24 hours a day in our house, right? We had to be the ones that told them what we saw, and give them hard and fast, substantial data so that they could make their best judgments and assessments on the situation and hypothesis of what could be going on. So one of the things that I plan to help parents with, and one of the services I offer, is evaluating where they currently are with their therapies, treatments, and then looking to see how those are working. And in order to know how those are working, you have to do some type of analysis, right? You have to have some type of data. Maybe it is that your child wakes up 5 times a night and really only sleeps through the night two times a week. Maybe it's picking that number. That's what you want to change. And so we're going to look at that to say, if we can decrease that number by XYZ therapy that you're trying, then we will know that it's working, right? If that's the thing we're really focused on. So in order to do that, you've got to track how many times they get up in the week, right? But having some hard and fast data that you can truly measure. Maybe your child suffers from fatigue, and maybe they can play outside for 15 minutes. Well, looking at that, okay, maybe if they can play outside for 30 minutes or 20 minutes and not be fatigued, then we'll know we're at least going in the right direction with that therapy or treatment. So, and then setting time limits to that, right? Saying we'll try something for, and this varies per family. Some people say, well, we can do it for a month, or we can do it for a week, and then we'll reassess at the end of the week, or we'll reassess at the end of the month. So, kind of giving yourself some timelines to say what's going to be our measurable value, and how long are we going to try it before we decide to tweak it or try something else.
And it's good that they have you to say, they may set a goal, and it may be something, well, we are kind of getting results, maybe let's go another week with this.
Exactly. Yeah, you can definitely. There's nothing set in stone with with treatments as far as I mean, obviously you're following your doctor's medical advice, or you're in touch with your medical team to let them know, hey, we're seeing this and it's not really working. But there's nothing that says XYZ has to be the end all be all, right? A family has the right to look at other treatments and to look and talk to other specialists and like I said, form that team that's really looking out for the best interests of the child. You know, they say that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and getting the same result, right? So if you're doing that with the current treatments for your child and you're really not seeing anything, or I mean, we've had situations like this with our daughter. She was actually even declining, like we were going backwards. Sometimes it has to be the parent that shakes raises their hands in the air and screams, because again, I go back to the doctor's not in your home or the therapist is not in your home 24 hours a day. So if you're seeing that, and a parent is most apt to pick up on those subtleties much quicker, right, than anyone that's treating your child, just because of the time that you spend with them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know your child. You know when they're happy. You know when they're not happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, I know myself. They're young and this and that and the other thing, and it's not necessarily. And when you do have, other children, and not that you ever compare them, but you know what, you can tell when things are a little bit amiss. Yeah.
Right.
And
right.
I know,
and then I would say the parent's going to be the first one to know that information.
Right.
Even before grandma.
Right. Yes, absolutely, because you're there 24/7 with them. Yeah. Right. And
even if
they're not,
if you're outside working outside the home, you spend a substantial amount of time with that child to know when they're off, when they're not at their best.
Right. And so now is this, what about advocacy for other types of problems with kids? Do you ever, let's say, advocate for parents who are trying to space out their immune schedule or anything like that? Are you able to give them some ideas or?
Yeah, so I've worked with a lot of different parents and actually have been doing this a couple of years before now formalizing it into a company. So I've worked with all different types of diagnoses, everything from what I would say is more common to things that are very, very rare. I was just at a rare disease conference last Friday at Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, learning as much as I could about rare disease and genetic disorders. So there's really not a condition that I can't help with. And I say that not because I'm an expert in any condition or all the conditions. I say that because I think that the process is the same. You're looking at that child as a member of your family and as a whole person. And so that's my approach, trying to figure out what works best for that family. And even children who have very, very severe disabilities, I truly believe in my heart that there are always things that we can be doing that will improve that child's quality of life. And we should always be focused on that. So I have had discussions with parents about immunization schedules, and I'm happy to help give them some information about that they can talk with their doctor about. And like I said, really no condition is off limits, I guess. I'm always willing to help with any condition and concern that a parent has for their child.
Well, and it's a great service because, I know especially new parents for the first time really have a hard time convincing a physician or something, unless the physician, of course, sees it first. But I know a lot of times they get told, oh, it's, a new mother, nervous, Nelly, all babies are this or that or the other thing. I know, for instance, my aunt had a very sick child. It was 2, and the baby just cried. She called doctor, and, everybody said, oh, it's just a colicky baby. And then one doctor came to our house and said, this baby should be in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, a little bit to not give up. And,
right.
And I remember back then, she had nobody to help her.
Right.
So we are definitely glad that you're of service to us.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Okay. I just want to remind everyone we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back from our break, if anybody has any questions about anything for Kristi, you can absolutely call into the show. The number is 412-825-6262. It's 412-825-6262. And we'll be right back.
Our children, they're the apple of our eyes. Their little voices are music to our ears. We want to give them the best and help them stay healthy. Sunnybridge Natural Foods offers many ways to help you keep them skipping and laughing with great products and good food. Fish oils from Nordic Naturals keep their minds focused and sharp. Should a cold or sore throat attack your little ones, Sunnybridge offers a variety of natural, non-drowsy sick stoppers to get them back on track. Quick and tasty protein bars and smoothies are perfect for those sports kids on the go. And Sunny Bakes fresh from the oven decorated cupcakes and cutout cookies are enjoyed by the kid in all of us. From kid-friendly cereals and snacks to immune-boosting supplements, Sunnybridge offers great products that have become family favorites. Those little ones grow up quickly. What better way to help them grow up healthy by feeding them nutritious foods that the whole family can enjoy? Make your visits to Sunnybridge Natural Foods one of those events your children will always remember. When you think healthy, think Sunnybridge Natural Foods. Cross the bridge to a healthier lifestyle.
Hi, welcome back. This is Sunny Spot, sponsored by Sunnybridge Natural Foods. Today we're on the air with Kristi Weiss. Kristi is an advocate for parents that are struggling with any kind of medical diagnoses or even some new issues for new parents. So I want to remind everybody, if you have a question, you can call Kristi at 412-825-6262 and speak to her on the air. Also, if you have to get away from your radio and you have your computer, you can keep on listening at khbradio.com. So, Kristi, we were talking a little bit about some of the things that parents run into when they go to the doctor's office and, they have questions and sometimes they're afraid to ask. So what are some of let's say, children have reactions to things. What are some of the things that you have found a great improvement in children's health when either that maybe have added to their diet or removed from their diet that, some parents have seen improvement, whether it be, is it soy, gluten, eggs? Do you ever find?
Absolutely, yeah. I can speak from personal experience on that one with our own child, finding that she had a number of food sensitivities, but yet each time we went to our pediatrician and they sent us on to an allergist, all her allergy testing came back negative, that she was not allergic to anything. And it really perplexed us because what we were seeing at home, again, during those 24/7, times we were with her, did not match what the test was saying. And so that sent me down a research route, again, digging into the medical literature and trying to understand what was going on with her. And we found the whole world of intolerances, right, that these were not IgE allergies, so an anaphylactic type allergy that you would that you hear about with children who are anaphylactic and need an EpiPen for a peanut allergy, but they were that she actually had food intolerances, sometimes referred to as an IgG allergy or a sensitivity or intolerance. There's a lot of names out there that are used for that, but that her behavior changed, her GI tract changed, her sleeping patterns changed, all based on the food that she was getting. Specifically, one of the triggers we found very early on for our daughter was soy, and that was actually through a breastfeeding elimination diet. So that was actually to the level of sensitivity that I was eating the food and nursing her, and she was sensitive to what I was eating, was the level. So removing soy from my diet greatly improved. At the time, it was colic, so she presented very, very much early on with colic-like symptoms. And it was the first time she stopped screaming, for months and months on end. And it was that observation that, my husband and I realized, wow, but food is definitely a big factor for our family. So I'm not unique in this situation. I've talked with probably thousands upon thousands of other parents who have had similar situations, similar responses with their children. Back to our autism example, one of the diets, just one of them, there's many out there, but one of the diets that some children respond to with autism is the gluten-free, casein-free diet. And so that's something that's being actively studied now. There are responders to that. There are also non-responders to that, but there's, like I said, there's many other diets out there. And though I'm not proponent that we put all children on diets, my advocacy comes in and trying to figure out what is right for that child and what is their biochemistry and what is their body telling us when they eat a piece of bread and it changes their behavior. What is that telling us about what's going on inside them?
Yeah, it tells me something's not right.
Right.
It's not that they're having, and I really wonder, Kristi, because we have so many people now that, here at Sunny Bridge, where we cater to a lot of children that have specific allergies.
Right. And that's why I love you guys.
in many different conditions. So, we are able to, again, when people come in here, they're, I can't have this, I can't have salt, I can't have, so we're, through the whole store walking them around trying to help them out too.
Right.
To get started. And it can be very
overwhelming.
Yes, especially for somebody, it's the first time, they've never heard of this before. Their doctor says, well, you're, wheat or what, they're like, what am I going to eat?
Yeah, absolutely. And though I haven't advertised that service specifically as an advocate, I'm always happy to help parents if they're at that point in their journey to meet them at the grocery store and to meet them at your store because sometimes just taking those first couple steps can be daunting. And I'm here to say I promise it gets easier. We still follow a special diet for our daughter, and she thrives on it. And it's now just a part of what we do, right? It's just a part of our daily lives. So we don't really think twice about it. But I can remember being completely overwhelmed in the beginning. So like I said, my new business is to hopefully to be that person that I wish I had whenever we were in the diagnostic odyssey of trying to figure out what was going on with her. And that's definitely a piece of it I call it the implementation stage, right? You can go to many doctors. They're going to give you many ideas, many recommendations, sometimes many pharmaceuticals. And it's sometimes very overwhelming for a family to take all of that advice, maybe from 4 or 5 different physicians, and try to implement it. And so that's when sitting down with someone like a patient advocate can be helpful, just trying to organize all of that information in one spot and try to prioritize how to implement it, and actually trying to get your care team, so that team of doctors, to communicate with one another so that one person doesn't prescribe a pharmaceutical that might interact with the treatment of another physician or team member or therapist on your team. That's another big piece of this as well, is trying to make sure everybody's on the same page, and it's in the best interest of the child.
Oh, absolutely. Because I know with even dealing with my elderly parents, just trying to get their doctors to communicate with each other, and let alone one of them ends up in the hospital, those doctors aren't even going to call your physician.
Right, and it's very difficult in today's medical complex to try to do that because of the time constraints put on our physicians. And that's when I say again, our physicians are not the bad guys. They're the good guys. They're the ones that are trying to help our families.
Right.
But we also have to understand what they can and can't do in their positions, right? They have oftentimes, if they're not in private practice, they have constraints on their times on how much time they can spend with a patient.
Yeah.
And that doesn't include scheduling or playing phone tag with another doctor for half an hour tomorrow, right? So trying to figure out creative ways to communicate. I do a lot of focus with families on records management and medical records and how to use those documents that are produced because of your visit with that physician to help inform other physicians and also to help manage your child's care. So that's another service that I offer is helping families put together medical data and their medical records notebook.
And that is a great service because you know yourself when you do, say for instance, you do have to go to an emergency room for a broken leg or something, my gosh, the questions they ask you, and if you just have that folder somewhere in a safe place where you know you can grab it quickly.
Absolutely.
And just
be really helpful.
Yeah, because I'm sure you would have the list of allergies, medications, symptoms.
Right. And actually you bring up something that my goal is to do on an initial consult with individuals. So I do have a paid initial consult. It is for a fee, but I come up with, it's usually between an hour and a 2-hour appointment, and I come up with what I call a medical resume for that child or that family. And it's a 2-page concise document that even if the family decides that they don't need my services any further, they have a product from that initial consult that they can take on with them and carry on with them to other physicians, to other therapists, to other doctors, even to use for school. That is a history, a brief, concise history of that child.
Oh, what a great resource, Kristi, because you know, and how often, especially in our area, we have a lot of families that transfer in and out of the state.
Absolutely. It's tough to keep track of all that information, right? Because it's scattered. It can then become scattered everywhere. We were one of those. We moved a couple years ago from Texas, and trying to track down things when you're half a country away, it's not easy.
Absolutely, and you wonder. I mean, I really don't know because I've wondered this myself for my own children. Of course, they're all in their 30s now. But how long do those pediatricians hold on to those records and things?
You know, it's interesting you say that. I was just having this conversation with a client the other day who has an older child, and it depends. And I don't know that it is. The same across every pediatrician's office. Some are 10 years past, you know, maybe the last date seen. Some are 20. Some seem to be less. So a lot of it has to do with how that office archives their records. So some might send it to an off-site storage place. And so sometimes they may exist, but that actually getting your hands on them, you know, might be the next challenge because they actually have to, you know, find them in an off-site storage facility. So it can be challenging. The great news about that is many locations are switching to electronic health medical records. That you'll know that if they're doing that. Usually, if you go into your doctor's office and they're typing on the computer rather than writing in a chart.
Yes.
But that can be very helpful because obviously you can get your records quicker. And they are around hopefully longer and more easily accessible.
Oh, absolutely, with the touch of a button these days.
Right. But I still impress upon people though that even though that is such a wonderful thing for ease, it's also really important to still have backups of that information in hard copy for yourself at least, for your family, because you know, we all know how many times have systems crashed and we've lost what we were working on because we didn't save it. You know, you hate to think that would happen, and I don't think it often does. But I think it's good to have those transportable records that you keep within your own family.
All right, because I know taking the husband to the emergency room one time, and they pulled up stuff. There was, stuff. There was a lot of stuff that was not in that record that should have been.
Right, and that's something else that I speak with families about, is reviewing your record and making sure that data is correct, because you have a part just as much as the person writing that to make sure that information in your medical record is correct. Right. And it's important to know that you can't change a medical record, meaning what's been written is written and will remain in there. However, you can, in many other systems, they have an appeal or amendment process, so you can have the record amended, so that there's a note attached in the record that clarifies the incorrect information.
Yeah, well, a lot of things for missing allergies, those kinds of things. The small, simple things that could be quite dangerous. Yeah.
Right, absolutely, and that's why it's great to review those things. If your doctor doesn't automatically review those with you each time you come in, I know our pediatrician's office, that's the first thing they ask us is, we have XYZ in here as listed as allergies. Is that correct? And if they don't do that automatically at your doctor's office, that's a great thing to start the conversation with. Could you read me what you have as my allergies, and make sure those are correct, because like you said, that can be life-threatening information.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And even when you go to the pharmacist, I have found myself recently with some people in my family being prescribed some meds that, they do have allergies. And I had mentioned the allergies to the pharmacist, and those things still came into the house. Mm-hmm. So really, even if I don't know about you, but this is my suggestion from my own personal experience, even no matter what it is, to check it out, look it up. You can always look it up online to see what the ingredients in that product are. Because so many people, it could even be like red dye number 4 or something little like that in a product that's causing a huge problem.
It sure could, yeah. And oftentimes products change their formulations, right? So you might have been okay with that dose of Advil last time, but maybe they changed their formulation. Now they're using a artificial sweetener this time in that that you didn't know about, and perhaps you have a sensitivity to that can cause a reaction right there.
And even some of what a lot of people don't realize too is that some of the medications that they're getting, are also could have wheat starch, those kinds of things in them as fillers that could cause issues for some people, particularly if they're gluten-free.
Right, and sometimes those things don't have to be labeled. I just had written a Pittsburgh Parent article on peanut allergy, and found out through some of my research, there's a medical journal that was talking about peanut oil and peanut filler in a number of pharmaceutical applications, including some creams that were regularly and often prescribed to children. And it was a journal written for doctors saying, "Hey, doctor, did you know that's in there?" And the doctor that wrote it was commenting that they had no idea. They had no idea they were giving their patient a cream to rub on their skin that had peanut oil in it, and that child had a peanut allergy. So it's really, really important to know your products and to know your child as well, and be that watchdog and that advocate for them.
Yes, read everything.
That's right.
Read every label.
And if there is some reaction, sometimes, like I said, if that wasn't listed on the label, pick up the phone and call the company. Right? That's the next step that you can do to make sure you know for next time.
Oh yeah, it's a scary thing,
It is. Can be very scary. Yeah, but I like to come at it from hopefully, instead of scaring parents, preparing parents, and really empowering parents. And that's why I called my company what I did, Empowered Medical Advocacy, because it really is about empowerment. It's about knowing that you, as a parent, you have control over your child's health. That you can take control over that. And there are definitely things about our children's health that we can't control. But when you focus on those things that you can and that you see benefits from, in your child's health, then that's what we need to focus on.
Absolutely. Well, Kristi, we're going to take another real quick break. I want to remind everybody this is Sunny Spot, sponsored by Sunny Bridge Natural Foods. We're on the air today with Kristi Weiss. When we come back, if you have any questions for Kristi, please feel free to call 412-825-6262. Again, that's 412-825-6262. We'll be right back.
Little Jimmy just got home from school, and he's got that look. Red eyes, runny nose, and the sniffles. Your husband walked through the door sneezing and coughing, and your stomach has been feeling a little queasy today, too. It's time to stop those symptoms in their tracks. From teas to belly-warming soups, from herbals to homeopathic remedies, probiotics, fresh juices, and produce. Everything you need to keep your family healthy is available all in one place at Sunny Bridge Natural Foods. Stop by. They'll show you how to build a strong defense. Don't wait for the bugs to hit. Build your immune system now. Stop by or call 724-942-5800.
Hi, welcome back. This is the Sunny Spot, and sponsored by Sunny Bridge Natural Foods. We're on the air with, I'm going to say, parent and child advocate Kristi Weiss. She's great at helping people maneuver through the medical process in the world of pediatrics, particularly. So Kristi also can answer any of your questions if you have some for her at 412-825-6262. And again, you can listen in on khbradio.com. So, Kristi, before we went on our break a little bit, we were talking about some of the foods and things. Now, what are, I know as being the supplement manager, there are some things that can help with children's brain development, helping neurotransmitters fire in the brain. Are there any supplements or anything that you feel, I know it's still just your personal opinion, that would really be beneficial for helping parents, like possibly DHA from fish oils or anything like that? Have you ever had any parents try things like that and have success?
Yes, absolutely. I come at this again, putting my chemist hat on, and I think we live in an amazing place in technology and society where we have a lot of ways to test individuals for nutritional deficiencies. And so that's something that's been very eye-opening in our journey with our daughter, was to find that certain medical tests, and I'm not even talking about alternative medical tests, I'm talking about medical tests that our pediatrician ordered and that some of her specialists ordered, actually showed deficiencies in certain vitamins. And when I went into the literature and looked at more in depth into these deficiencies, I realized that 100 years ago they caused severe death and disability in individuals that had these deficiencies. Even coming across reports of Nobel Prize winners receiving the Nobel Prize. For instance, a gentleman received the Nobel Prize to find out that pernicious anemia was linked to B12 deficiency, and if you ate liver that was very rich in B12, it stopped a fatal disease around the turn of the century, which was pernicious anemia. And so finding that information out in the literature really opened my eyes to the fact that a lot of these things have been studied for hundreds of years and awarded very prestigious medals of honor for this research. And I guess what I look at with a family is to make sure that information is not lost on their child. So you asked about specific supplements. I can't really recommend a specific supplement because I think it's so individualized. And I guess I would more recommend the testing, and not recommend the testing, but give the parents the information and the knowledge and the journal articles that they can read or take to their doctor to have the discussion about the testing, because obviously, as I said, I'm not a medical professional and can't order any testing. But that goes back to that team member, right? That crucial member of the team that can do the testing and can get to the bottom of the root cause of some of these symptoms.
And, well, where you fit in beautifully with all this is that a lot of parents don't even, they don't realize that these tests are available. And if if you have a physician that doesn't suggest it, I
not know to ask. Yeah,
you don't know who to ask, where to go.
I always say parents in situations like these, we don't know what we don't know, right? We don't know that supplements would have any impact on our child. We don't know that diet would have any impact on our child because we haven't been exposed to that. Maybe we didn't grow up in a family with food allergies, so we haven't lived that experience. And so you're right. We don't know what to ask for, and we don't even know what we need, right? When you first have that diagnosis and somebody turns to you and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that," or "What can I do for you?" or "What do you need?"
Right.
You're often met with a blank stare because families don't know what they need. They don't know what direction to go in, and so trying to figure out a plan and for our daughter, it's been a multi-tiered and multifaceted discovery process. It wasn't just one blood test. It was, I remember the first neurologist that we went to with her ran a specific test 3 different times because he said, this test has a lot of error, a lot of lab error, and I don't want to base my decision for you to go see this other specialist on just one value. So I'm going to repeat it. So we had to do a blood draw 3 times. It wasn't pleasant, but at the same time, he was trying to make sure that the information was correct. And based on that information and it coming back elevated 3 different times, he was confident in sending us, to the next specialist. So I think the testing, to me, the testing is so important and can really guide you in understanding. I mean, there's tests for fatty acids out there, so it can guide you in understanding if your child does need DHA or not. And then there's a piece of it that's the trial and error effect, right? Sometimes families just try something and it turns out to work for their child too, and I'm not opposed to that either. I just think in the time that we live in, there are so many things that can help guide us with that information.
Oh, absolutely. And if you really feel strong about it, keep going at it.
Absolutely. Don't give up. Your child's counting on you.
Right. Right. And you don't want to say, well, they never said anything was wrong. I mean, Kristi, you and I have talked about this before. If you know in your gut, you're going to know more than anybody.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot to be said for mother's instinct and parental instinct as well. As if you sense something's wrong and that feeling is so strong within your gut, it's best to listen to that, because ignoring it and stifling it and telling yourself not, and not to say that you should be worried about everything, but right, if you have that, I think moms know what I'm talking about when I say that overwhelming sense that something is just not right. It is worth pursuing it, and something, testing or talking with a doctor or a professional might tell you otherwise. But again, if you continue to live with that child 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that feeling continues to rise in you, I think it's worth a second glance and a second opinion.
And it is. I mean, a lot of people too, they feel, they see their child may have one symptom. I'm sure a lot of children that are autistic may have texture problems, or they like one thing, and then their child gets into a habit of one thing, and then right away they start to think that their child is becoming autistic because they just have that one thing they like. But that's not always true either. Right.
A lot of this is peeling back the onion layer, right? That one thing looks like something else, but once you peel back and really try to get to the root of, the center of the onion, you find that it could be all because, like you said, their neurotransmitters are off. Perhaps they are low in B12. Maybe they don't have enough DHA. There's a whole host of things. I'm working on a piece right now about the many things that can be misdiagnosed as behavioral issues and what some of those underlying causes are, and hope to blog about that soon. So stay tuned on my empoweredadvocacy.com, because there are so many different layers to all this, and it might appear as behavior, but that child's exhibiting that behavior for a reason, and it's really trying to figure out what that reason is.
Right, and I do want to remind everybody too again about your website is empoweredadvocacy.com, correct?
That's correct.
And I have a phone number here for you, 724-613-2378.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
And you have an email parents can contact you?
Sure. It's a real easy. It's just Kristi, Kristi, at empoweredadvocacy.com. And there's also a contact form on our website if that's easier for people to send it that way.
And I do see here too that you have you've written many magazine articles too for Pittsburgh Parent Magazine.
I have, and I do have those featured on my empoweredadvocacy.com. You can click on those and read those online for some of the past issues.
That's a great service that you provide for everybody here. I mean, it's really, because like I said, I know before there were people, before we even understood, like 30 years ago, we were pretty not well educated since we are today and don't have the resources available that we have today. So
don't put yourself down. I don't think it's about education. I think it's about this explosion of information that makes us feel like we didn't know what we knew 30 years ago. But
all right, I can remember sitting at the kitchen table with the white pages open in the beginning and just calling just any government number, anything that I could try to get some help from. And my first thing would be, I don't know if I got the right person, but here's my problem. And they always would be able to help, the next step. But, you could save somebody months of time.
I hope so. That's what I hope to do is really shorten the amount of time, shorten the amount of effort that a parent, so it's not taking years and years and years for them to figure out these answers for their child, but you're figuring out those answers quickly. We know that in almost all of these conditions, early intervention is key. I think that comes up again and again in the literature is jumping on the problem quickly and finding the right treatments. And so that's what I hope to help families do so that they can get their kids back and healthy and being a family again, right? Doing what kids do, letting them play and have fun and not spending hours in therapy and doctor's appointments, right? That's not how any of us dreamed our children's childhood to be. So
no, absolutely. Everybody wants them to be happy.
Yeah.
And of course, well taken care of and understood.
Understood, absolutely.
Yeah. And everybody, everybody just does want to be loved, right?
That's right. I always say you don't read the What to Expect When You're Expecting book and read the chapter on, taking care of a special needs child. It's just not covered, right? So that's not what any of us prepare for. But when put in that situation, there are things you can do, and there are ways to have an amazing family and amazing kids and enjoy your quality of life together.
And now let me ask you this. This just came to my mind, Kristi. What kind of reception do you get when you go into some of the physicians' offices? Are they usually very welcoming when you come with parents?
I have attended some specialist appointments specifically, and usually, I let them know that I'm really there as a support. It's no different than having grandma or grandpa attend, a appointment with you. I'm there to take notes, and I'm there to interject and offer support when I need to be. But I recommend honestly that we all go to doctor's appointments with someone, whether that be a paid professional advocate or someone from your family or your church or your neighbor. it's always good to have a second set of ears. So I've had good response from that, and usually I've never had anyone negative about having someone else there, because I think they understand the role of support for a family in these situations.
Oh, absolutely, and it is a good thing, and it is true. I mean, how many times I've gone to doctor's appointments, with my parents, and they're just so overwhelmed, and they just, they miss half of what the doctor says. And with you there, you're able to say, no, he said this, or they said that.
Right. Right. It's really important to have that second set of ears and take notes, right? And sometimes when you're the parent, you're just focused on what the doctor's saying, and trying to pick out the main points and things can be completely overwhelming because you're just focused on their words. So having that extra set of ears, I think, is crucial.
I believe it. And I certainly wish I would have been able to talk to somebody like you in our younger days, just even to let you, you can say what is considered normal when you're, as far as timelines and things like that. So, Kristi, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show again today. Can you repeat your website for us real quickly?
Sure. It's empoweredadvocacy.com. And I just want to thank you for having me on the show. It's been wonderful talking about this, and we love coming down to your store because of all the great options that you offer for parents, health options. So thank you for what you guys do as well.
Oh, thank you, Kristi. And I just want to remind everybody, too, as a matter of fact, we're celebrating our 14th year, the 4th and 5th of March. So we're having a big shindig here. We're going to be giving away free samples. Everything in the store for those 2 days is going to be 20% off. We'll have vendors here, all kinds of things you can try. We do it every year, and it's really going to be great this year. We have a lot of stuff lined up. So anybody can check on our website at sunnybridgenaturalfoods.com to get the details for all that coming up. I want to thank everybody for listening to the Sunny Spot on khb.com, and have a great week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.